Yesterday, this thing's brand new. It's still got covers over the pickups. This is the same fellow that brought me that Flying V a couple of months back. Anyway, so we're going to go through the whole deal on this one. It definitely needs the fret dress along the length, and as always, I'll explain as I go. So we're going to be changing the nut on this from the plastic nut to a Corian, much like we did for Paul's Flying V. The string spacing, it's a little bit tight. I'm sure that the reason they do that is that the plastic injection molded nut, if you bring that any closer to the edge, that's going to bust off for sure. So the Corian is going to allow us to spread those strings out a little bit more like we did on the Flying V, and Paul mentioned when he was here that he really liked that. This will be a 10 to 56 string. It'll be a little bit different than all the other compensated nuts. So when you're handling these kind of weird shaped guitars, this is another sort of tech deck tip. I wanted to point out a tip that one of my students actually gave me. He's got a bunch of strange shaped guitars. He had asked me, he wanted to buy 2 neck straps, the small straps for the neck assembly. So when I asked him, what do you need 2 extra neck straps for? He said, well, I like to actually strap it from the center pin. One neck strap basically going from here to the cinch hook. The other neck strap is going from the last cinch hook over to the centering pin. So he just taught an old dog some new tricks. Works great. Doesn't matter what the shape of the guitar is. If you got that center pin with a couple of short straps. So I'm taking that nut out for a couple of reasons. One is we're replacing it with a compensated nut. The immediate concern is I need to dress full length. I don't want that in the way. So this is a 2-way truss rod. So I've reached the neutral zone and it's still going in a little bit of a back bow. So don't want to go anywhere near that thing yet. Now I can feel it starting to grab. So now the 2-way truss rod is actually pulling the neck up like this, right? I will put a little bit of negative tension on that bow, and let's check it again with the straight edge. It's no longer clicking kind of end to end. But to really check it, I need to go through a few other lengths of straight edges and sort of spot check it all along the length of the neck. So I've got an 8-inch straight edge here, and that's kind of a good length to kind of check the neck in thirds. Now I got a little bit of click in there. I'm going to come back and check that out. Okay, we're going to go to a smaller straight edge again. So we've got the lay of the neck really good on this one. It does need a little bit of an edge dress as well, so we're going to edge dress it. I'm going to skim it very lightly, full length. Once those strings have been tuned to E flat, then we'll sort of check that lay of the neck again and adjust it for that string load. Okay, I have checked all the high spots. There's some ticking and clicking along here, and just at the top end here, see there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different spots. And of course, dressing the frets like that allows you to put the action exactly where you want it without getting any extraneous buzzing. That neck is supported along its length, the body is held in place, and now we're ready to do a level recrown and polish. So 2 things have become abundantly clear from the fact that the industry has spent millions upon millions of dollars in research to come up with a fret dressing machine. Number 1, it tells you that it's an issue. Number 2, it tells you that a 2x4 with a notch in it is not going to do it. You need to completely restrict the flex of the neck while you're doing this work. And I actually like to hold the body and the neck firmly without any excessive force in order to get consistently perfect fret dressing. After dozens and dozens of videos demonstrating this on the tech deck, it's also become abundantly clear that we do this routinely. We'll give you a full demo as we always do. Here we go, moment of truth. 9 different spots. No clicking there, leveled right out. Yeah, we've arrived. So I want to make a point about how the neck should be supported and why it needs to be supported along its length. If you have, you know, the proverbial little rubber fork with a mat, I think they actually call it a workstation, or a 2x4 with a notch in it, or the little bunny ears, or it doesn't matter, whatever you got one point of contact, look at the deflection in that neck. So when I push down on that neck, and that's exactly what you're doing, you know, when you're dressing, look at this. That's moving like 1/8 of an inch. You can't have the neck flexing like that when you're trying to level the frets. It's like trying to level a trampoline. My level 1 students have been doing perfect fret jobs, perfect fret dresses on their tech decks for the last couple of decades. Hi everybody, Mike McConville here, Stratford, Ontario, Canada. Just sort of finishing up Paul's Explorer, doing some melodic exploring on this Explorer. Anyway, it's a beautiful guitar, big wide neck. This kind of wingy part at the back, it allows you to kind of rest your arm. Anyway, I'm going through my proverbial 1, 6, 10 intervals again. I'm going to go through this sequence. Right? If I do a 4 count, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Quicker. So if you do a 3 count, it's a completely different thing. So what I'm doing here is I'm kind of doing 4 groups of 3, or 12/8, I guess. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. You kind of get this. If I go to the middle 4 set of strings and kind of mimic that rhythm and that same sort of open string root 6/10 thing, we get this kind of thing. So basically I'm harmonizing, same sort of rhythmic sequence of 12/8, kind of harmonizing over that original sequence. This is all in E minor or G major. Of course, you know, we've gone through this before, these sort of harmonic mechanisms, and I use it all the time to sort of check the intonation. But I thought it was kind of neat to do that sort of exploration on the Explorer. So there you go, there's some food for thought. This thing incidentally plays amazing. It's like a classical guitar to play, wider fingerboard, and this is a 24 3/4 inch scale. I picked up on that immediately because I've worked on so many Les Pauls lately, and Les Pauls are 24 5/8. So it's 1/8 of an inch longer, spread out over the whole scale. But that 1/8 of an inch is a huge difference, the feel. Anyway, very interesting guitar for left hand and right hand, the longer scale and the wider string spacing. Paul's gonna love this thing. Cheers.